I will call to order this meeting of the New Ulm Public Utilities, January 26, 2016. Our first item on the agenda is the oath of office for the Public Utilities Commissioners appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the City Council at the January 5th, 2016 annual City Council meeting.
Would you like me to administer the oath?
Please do, Counselor.
Mr. Fingeland and Ms. Hillersheim, do you want to stand? Raise your hand, please. Say your name.
I, Sean Fingeland,
Do
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and of the state of Minnesota,
and of the state of Minnesota,
and faithfully and impartially discharge the duties
and faithfully and impartially discharge the duties
of the officer of Commissioner
of the Office of Commissioner
of the Public Utilities Commission
of the Public Utilities Commission
of said City of New Ulm
of said City of New Ulm
in the County of Brown
in the County of Brown
and State of Minnesota
and State of Minnesota
to the best of my judgment and ability.
to the best of my judgment and ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We'll need to have you sign documents and then turn them into. Yep.
Okay. The second item of business will be election of officers. We will need to elect a president and a vice president. Are there any nominations from the floor for president?
Mr. President, in the interest of continuity as we go along with terms, I would offer a motion to appoint Ms. Heine as president of the PUC and yourself as the vice president.
I'll second that nomination.
Okay, the motion has been seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Madam Chairman, please take the gavel.
Well, we'll move chairs.
You're going to move chairs?
Yeah.
Move chairs.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the December 22nd meeting. Do we have a motion?
I'll
Move
make
to approve the minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the minutes of the meeting, a regular meeting of the Public Utilities Commission held December 22nd, 2015, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. The next item on the agenda is to receive the report from the city manager regarding utility operations.
Only thing I would add is that the Long-Term Power Committee has met last week, and they've had, I think, about 2 months where they did meet. It was a rather long agenda, but we did get through it, and we'll be working on some things that were brought up at that meeting. You'll notice one of those things was carried forward to the PUC agenda on tonight's meeting. So they are looking at other options and things that we can do to increase efficiencies, increase revenue for the PUC.
Madam President, one question for you, Brian. Where are we in the search for a new head of the PUC?
We're going to wait until the selection of the Personnel Committee members, and then as soon as that's done, we'll
Okay.
get that group together, and we'll explain where we see this process going, and then we'll move on that.
Gotcha. Thank you.
February, we'll be addressing that, I'm sure.
Thank you very much.
I need,
I'd offer motion to approve the utility activity report, and I think we have who's our employee of the month there?
Scott Osborne.
And acknowledge Scott Osborne as the employee of the month at the PUC.
Second for the motion.
Second?
All those in favor of approving or receive an order filed, the report regarding utility operations during the month of January 2016 indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is to make the committee appointments for this year. We have the Energy Awareness Committee, Personnel Committee, Long-Term Power Committee, and Cable Communication Advisory Board.
All right, so I will make a motion, it will be lengthy, to appoint Shannon Hilsheim to replace me on the Energy Awareness Committee, to appoint myself on the Personnel Committee in replacement of Commissioner Bernick, to appoint President Heine to replace outgoing Commissioner Stanky, to maintain the same two appointments for the Long-Term Power Committee, and to maintain the same appointment for the Cable Communications Advisory Board for 2016.
Second.
Okay, we've had a motion and second to appoint Commissioner Hillesheim to the Energy Awareness Committee, Commissioners Finland and Heine to Personnel Committee, Bernick and Swan to the Long-Term Power Committee, and to appoint Commissioner Heine to the Cable Communication Advisory Board. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is to discuss net energy billing service rates for 2016.
PUC members, as you're probably well aware, this comes up probably, once a year, and it's a requirement of, as you notice, Minnesota statute 216B.164. And we currently have 5 qualifying facilities, total rated capacity of 42.46 kilowatts. The second page reflects what the payment per kilowatt hour for energy delivered would be for residential, small commercial, and large commercial. And Mr. Swanson is here if you had any questions that you might have specific to this program. Otherwise, it's typically something we do every year to look at this and make this adjustment.
How is the typical breakout between the 3 different customer groups they're providing?
How is it?
How is the breakout between large commercial versus small commercial versus residential on power supplied to our grid?
William, you want to come to the microphone? And I made an assumption you were the one that knew about this, so.
Okay. Well, could you, I guess, could you restate that question?
So I'm just, and I'm not looking for 42.96 kilowatt hours, just in general, what distribution of our customers that are putting power back onto the grid in the way is coming from residential versus a small commercial versus large
Okay.
commercial.
Well, I actually may defer this question to our utilities.
Okay.
Basically, as City Manager Gramitz has said, we have 1 residential customer, we have 3 small commercial, and we have 1 large commercial. And we also have an additional a customer coming online with a rather large unit. I think that they will be considered commercial as well. And so we don't have a large volume of them, but basically, the way that the rate is calculated is we basically take the 2015 revenue, we take out the meter charges, and we divide it by the total usage by that class. So it's a class-specific rate that's calculated.
Okay.
So is that Does that answer your question?
Yep, it does.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry to put you on spot, William.
Oh, no problem.
I'd offer motion approving of the New Ulm Public Utilities net energy billing service rates for 2016 to be effective with the March 2016 billing.
Second.
Okay, we've had a motion and second to approve the New Ulm Public Utilities net energy billing service rates for 2016, effective March 2016. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. The next item is a request for approval to attend some training.
Yes, that'd be correct. One of the requirements is any out-state travel is required to come to the PUC for approval. In-state is all done internally amongst the department heads, but out-state. And there are 3 opportunities for training. And what you'll likely see in the future is maybe a early approval, like the first of the year for training that might be done in November, just so they can, when the notices come out, they can get the registration and get the hotels and all that all lined up right away. If you do it after the registration comes out, because we meet once a month, the timing just doesn't work out. So they're proposing that 2 employees be sent to the Itron gas measurement and regulation training this year. And I'm suspecting that they've got the 3 dates that the school has offered and that they'll be attending one of those.
Okay, I'll move to authorize attendance at the Honeywell Basic Instrumentation class to be held in Cincinnati, Ohio.
I'll second.
Motion and second to authorize attendance at the Honeywell Basic Instrumentation class in Cincinnati, Ohio. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is to consider scholarship for the MMUA program.
Okay, included in your packet are materials that we received from MMUA, and Mr. Swanson now has an opportunity to explain probably a deviation that we're proposing this year. And one of the things that we noticed was maybe a lack of enthusiasm for people submitting material, for this scholarship opportunity. And he'll be able to explain what he's proposing to change in order to get more people interested in this.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. I guess we've received and participated in the MMUA scholarship for a number of years with varying degrees of results. I guess many years we've had 0 submissions received for the year. And I believe part of that is due, the scholarship is awarded, final scholarship is awarded by the MMUA committee members. And there's not currently a local incentive to go along with that. I think we would get better participation if there was a local award. It would be much more likely to receive monetary funds for a submitted essay. And this year I propose $500, award for the local level. That would be taken out of our general communications fund. And I think we, may prompt people to, look at this more closely and move forward with it. Certainly, as it stands, it's also a great scholarship program, but many communities will also do a local fund as well. And are there any questions that I may be able to answer about that?
So we'll notify the high schools in the area that we're going to offer a $500. Is it a kicker if they get this, or it's just $500 out there for someone locally to submit to you for grading?
That would be the $500 award would be for the top winner for the New Ulm area. So the public utilities can select one winner to submit to the MMUA contest. The 500 would be in addition to the MMUA awards.
Should they receive it? I mean, if they don't get
Right.
selected, they still got the local $500, but they may not, receive the MMUA.
I remember in the past, there haven't been many submissions, but we did get a nice one last year, I remember.
Yeah.
It was kind of, it was impressive.
Yep, that's correct. And we did, last year without the additional local award, we did receive a submission and submitted that to the MMUA. They were not selected as the MMUA's top winner, but there are many communities that also participate.
I think the other thing that we're gonna do is to give an idea of what it's like is to provide links so that they can see what the prior winner's essay was like. Some people, maybe think of this and they think it's a big mountain, when truthfully, if they have an opportunity to see last year's winner, well, I can do that. So we're gonna, I think, be more interactive, more supportive on our end to encourage local participation, and one of those was just increasing the local scholarship, but the other one is getting more proactive.
I think yeah. And who ends up being the judge, yourself and?
It's typically, it can be judged either by the local governing body, or else it can be, delegated to utility staff members. Typically, we've delegated that to myself and the utilities director. I guess for this year, I believe the best may be myself and our assistant finance director.
Okay, thank you.
Unless members of the PUC wish to become involved. We never stymie volunteerism.
I certainly would offer.
Madam President, if I could interject, I just was reading the rules, and I note that if we would want to have relatives of utility personnel participate, you have to have an independent judge, and I don't know if staff would be considered independent, so that's maybe something you should consider moving forward with that.
So it's not prohibited, we would just need to be aware of that once the submissions come in.
Right, you couldn't have someone win who was a relative of utility personnel, so, yeah, unless the judge is independent.
Okay, I'll move to receive notice from the Minnesota Municipal Utilities Association regarding the Tom Bovitz Memorial Scholarship Award Program and approve a local award of $500 in addition to the MMUA scholarships.
I'll second.
A motion and second to receive notice from the Minnesota Municipal Utilities Association regarding the Tom Bovitz Memorial Scholarship Program and award a local award of $500 in addition to the MMUA program. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item relates to purchase of Unitrends backup appliance and installation services.
Nate Barron, the IT supervisor, has put forth a recommendation that we acquire a new backup piece of equipment. He calls it appliance and installation services. It costs around $15,000. We're currently relying on physical tape cartridges, which probably are large and cumbersome and take up lots of space. And so with the technology that's available, he is proposing that we utilize a new system. He is available tonight if you have any specific questions that you have about what he's proposing.
The only question I had was actually going down a little bit. Maybe it's just a verbiage, but we don't have any off-site backup for data right now?
Well, I think Nate can explain that.
Yeah, so our current methodology, because we use physical cartridges for tapes for the backup, what we actually do is we keep some of those on site and then some we take off-site to another city building. I think right now a wastewater treatment plant is where we store those. So we do have a weekly off-site backup.
So if we go to this new system though,
If we go to this new system, we can have every day is off-site.
so, okay, so if we go to the new system, we'll have backup here. Obviously, we have the data archived here.
Yep.
But then included in this cost is a remote
It's-
site somewhere that we'll do business with?
Yeah, it's not included in this cost. It's an additional service that I'm working with a local vendor to get a quote on that. I have some other quotes for replication off-site. So that's an additional monthly fee that we would have to do. We also have the nice thing about this appliance is that we can also keep it off-site. We have other city buildings that are connected with our fiber. And that, so we can have this appliance separate from our server, so we can also separate our backups that way. Right now, we don't have that option.
Right.
So, when I get those quotes from that, you'll hear from me on that too.
What kind of useful life does a system like this have?
This system typically has a 3 to 5 useful life, 3 to 5 year, sorry, I should be more specific. I anticipated having a 5-year lifespan.
And then we'd be looking at 15,000 again in 5 years?
Well, hopefully less. Hopefully it gets cheaper and cheaper. What I have to weigh every time that we'll do this is more and more it's getting harder to find appliances to do this internally. When you go and look for quotes from vendors, it's typically they're looking as a managed service, and then they do all the backups for you off-site. We have some equipment and some data privacy needs that make that a little bit tricky as a government entity. So this is a solution that a lot of other local governments use and really speak very highly of it. So hopefully it'll be a solution that we can use long term.
Was this item in our budget for 2016?
Yeah.
It
Yep.
was?
Mhm.
I'll move to authorize the purchase of the Unitrends RC814S backup appliance and installation services at the cost of $15,235.15.
Second.
We have a motion and second to authorize the purchase of a Unitrends RC814S backup appliance and installation services at the cost of $15,235.15. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Next is a request relating to the number 5 circulating pump.
Mr. President and Commissioners, the electric production plant is in need of repairing the number 5 circulating pump. As you note in the issue sheet, it tells you what it does. It's something we can't turn our back on and say, let's fix it 6 months from now. It's something that has to be fixed now. We did get 2 quotes. One quote was about $80,000 plus, and the quote we received was $73,750, and so obviously, the better of the two. We have $16,000 available in the account, so obviously we're going to be taking out of cash reserves to fund the rest of this. On a plus side, discussions with the company performing the overhauling, I think they said they could probably get it done for $65,000 or something in that area. So it's may not be quite as high as $73,000, but this is an important thing to have repaired, and would recommend that we approve the expenditure.
And you'd say we'd get the money out of a reserve fund, or?
Well, maybe Ms. Manderfeld can explain exactly where, generally speaking, if it's not budgeted, it's going to come out of reserves, I would think. So is that reasonable to assume?
Yeah, it would just come out of our savings account, so to say. So it'll just reduce the cash on hand for the electric department.
And there's enough to
Yes.
cover this and more?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yep.
I'd offer the motion authorizing the overhaul of number 5 circulating pump in the power plant.
Second.
We have a motion and second to authorize overhaul of the number 5 circulating pump in the power plant. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda relates to replacement of PUC vehicles.
Mr. President and Commissioners, the 2016 budget, which was approved in December, included many items of replacement, and in order to get a jump on some of these, some take a while to get ordered and get delivered. Pickup trucks, not so long a wait, but in order to initiate the process, we've got the metering department vehicle. That one's been we got rid of a Chevy Venture van, replaced it with a surplus vehicle from another department, and just to limp into 2016 so we could get authorization to replace that. Electric distribution has a need for a half-ton pickup to replace a three-quarter ton. Gas department has 2 vehicles. The 2006 4x4 service pickup truck is actually a three-quarter ton with the service box you'll see on it with racks, and doesn't look like a regular pickup box. It's a commercial box. And then the 97 dump truck, which is a 2-ton vehicle, would also be replaced. Those items were in the budget. You'll see the meter vehicle was listed at $25,000, electric distribution at $30,000, and gas vehicles were $50,000 for the service truck and $95,000 for the dump truck. Just note that what we're going out for as far as the service truck and dump truck would be just the cab and chassis, and that a box will be added on. So, $50,000 for the service pickup truck, that's not, the cab and chassis is not going to cost $50,000. Maybe that'll be $28,000, and then we'll also put on a new box. Normally, we get kind of those out of Crystal Manufacturing. But so they won't be spending all of this money just for the vehicle. It'll be a combination box and vehicle. So again, budgeted for 2016.
I'd offer the motion to authorize staff to prepare specifications to obtain quotes for the replacement of PUC vehicles in the metering department, the gas department, and electric distribution department.
Second.
We have a motion and second to authorize staff to prepare specifications to obtain quotes for replacement of PUC vehicles in the metering department, gas department, and electric distribution department. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is for approval to purchase an aerial boom truck.
That is correct. And as you'll note that you can probably anticipate that a 52-foot aerial boom truck is going to cost more than a pickup truck. The budget was aligned with a $240,000 price tag to replace this. I think the department is looking at hoping to get it for $200,000. Very possible, but we'll see what it actually comes in at. You just never know. So we've got $240,000 in the budget to replace this vehicle, which we believe is adequate to cover, the cost for this piece of equipment. We also have Mr. Botten here if he wants to explain what he uses this vehicle for and why it's important to acquire. I'm sure he'd be more than willing to explain.
Well, it's cheap compared to an aerial fire truck.
Yeah, the aerial and the fire truck is $850,000.
I'm kind of feeling cheated then.
Get over it.
Yeah, this is our service truck. This is used every day from hooking up services for residential to streetlight repairs, things like that. It's not our tallest truck, but this is the one that's used every day. I believe it's a 2003, and we've got over 100,000 miles on it of town driving and the idling that goes with those. And we're starting to have a lot of problems with it. I've replaced the engine on it once. So I just feel that it's time before it really starts to cost. And you also have some safety issues there. These trucks have so many override things, check valves, they've got hydraulics, hydraulic pumps. All of that stuff is starting to get weak on it. And at some point, it just starts to cost a lot because it just starts bringing leaks and things just aren't working anymore. So the guys take care of the equipment, I will say that, and it still looks good, but it's getting tired, so to speak. So
I would think a truck like that, 13 years old, is, probably time to move on.
yeah, it seems like the last few years we've been hanging on to them a little bit longer, but and that's a good thing, obviously. We have 3 of these trucks. One of them we use pretty much daily, and that's this one. We are going more underground now, so they're not in the air every day like they used to be. So we can get some more use out of them and get some more time out of them. We can buy some more time with them. So.
Thank you.
The 240 we budgeted net of whatever we would receive from selling the existing. I'm assuming it's gonna have some residual value.
I don't remember if that was included in the budget, Larry. Was a trade-in factored into the 240 or?
The trade-in wasn't factored in, and as we speak, I've got a gentleman that works for ABM that is good enough to come down and put these specs together. I tell him what we want. He starts to work up a deal, and then we can send it out for bids. There will be a trade-in, but as these bids come out and people want to take a look at them, then they'll come down and they'll make their determination on what this truck is worth to them. So we will be getting something for it, but I really couldn't tell you what that would be.
Okay.
So that'll take quite a bit off it too, I'm assuming.
Okay, thank you.
So,
I'd offer the motion to authorize staff to prepare specifications, advertise for bids, and set bid dates for the purchase of a 52-foot aerial boom truck.
Second.
We have a motion and second to authorize staff to prepare specifications, advertise for bids, and set bid dates for the purchase of a 52-foot aerial boom truck. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This is also a request for Mr. Botten on the next item, purchase an excavation unit and trencher.
Yeah, Mr. President and Commissioners, he's requesting that a hydro excavation unit and a trencher be replaced. Again, these were included in the 2016 budget. The vacuum unit was $20,000 value or estimate, and the trencher was $35,000 estimate.
I better clear that up a little bit, I'm sorry. The excavation unit, the gas department budgeted 20,000, we budgeted 20,000, and the water department.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So,
So it's a $60,000.
yeah, and the thing is we're starting to look at these and we're starting to get quotes on them. And they may be coming in higher, so we might just sit on this and see what this brings. So I don't know how you want to move forward with this. It's kind of a unit that all 3 of us use. We're sharing it together. So
So the proposed motion is to obtain quotes. So are
Right.
you saying maybe you want to get the quotes and not make a decision on whether or not to make the purchase
yeah,
right now?
we obviously aren't going to run with something if it comes in $20,000 more than we anticipated by any means. But this is kind of set up for the 3 departments, so just to kind of clear that up.
Okay, so when the quotes come in, it'll come back to the PUC and they can decide whether or not they want to pursue it. Yep.
The motion is still valid for us.
Yep, the motion is still valid.
So I'd offer the motion to authorize staff to obtain quotes for the purchase of an excavation unit and trencher pursuant to the requirements of the city code and charter.
Second.
Have a motion and second to authorize staff to obtain quotes for the purchase of an excavation unit and trencher pursuant to the requirements of city code and charter. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And then another request for purchase of copper wire.
Right, electric distribution is looking to acquire, new feeder wire, as you see on the issue sheet, 15,000 feet of 500 copper, 5,000 feet of 3/0 copper, and that would be for what do you call it, stock as needed. We would then go in and pick up what we need. We do have a project likely going on in the next 12 months, maybe 18 months that will require the use of some of this materials in anticipation of like the expansion on it at Kraft that we're working with Kraft on. So given that, that drives this even stronger than just putting it as stock on the shelf, waiting to be used. And also the estimate for the purchase of the wiring would be roughly $185,000. That was included in the 2016 budget. You just won't see it as $185,000 to buy copper wire. It's found in the other projects that are listed, like substation project, or so parts of these costs are in there, but you would not be able to identify them. But Mr. Botten is estimating about $155,000 expenditure.
185?
185, yep. A lot of money. Mr. Botten came looking for lots of money today.
I'll make a motion to authorize staff to prepare specifications, advertise for bids, and set bid dates for the purchase of copper wire pursuant to the requirements of the city code and charter.
Second.
We have a motion and second to authorize staff to prepare specifications, advertise for bids, and set bid dates for the purchase of copper wire pursuant to the requirements of the city code and charter. Any further discussion?
I would just add commodities in general. It's a good time to buy. So a lot of surplus around in the world, so it's going to be heavy in copper. Now's probably a good time.
And I think for the benefit of the new members, the state purchasing statutes allow for across-the-counter purchases up to $25,000. So we could go, if it's a $10,000 item, we could go and buy something. We don't have to get quotes. We don't have to get bids. We do because we want to get the lowest price possible. And then 25,000 to 100,000, you're required to get 2 quotes. And anything over 100,000, you're required to have the sealed bid process. Okay, so so when you saw some, like the trucks, if they're under 25,000, we could probably just go buy them from a dealer if you wanted to do that. Again, we don't because we want to get the lowest price. So there's 3 steps. And that's why you see this one is prepare specifications and advertise for bids. You don't have to do that if it's under $100,000. You can just go out and get quotes if you want to. So.
All right, any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is to address some surplus property.
I'd offer a motion declaring various utility equipment as surplus property and authorizing disposition pursuant to the requirements of the city code and charter.
Second.
We have a motion and second to declare various utility equipment as surplus property and authorize disposition pursuant to the requirements of the city code and charter. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is to discuss the public power energy service contract.
Mr. President and Commissioners, PUC was contacted by a gentleman by the name of Mike Cum of Public Power Energy Services. And he has a client that is interested in looking for our excess capacity that we're currently contracted with Xcel Energy for until May 31st of 2019. Mr. Cum is contacting us saying, starting on June 1st of 2019 and running through May 31st of 2025, that his client would be able to offer us a significantly higher contract price for that. So this isn't anything that we haven't done before. We currently have a contract, with Xcel Energy. It's just that that contract will, ultimately end in 2019. If this was not put before us, we'd probably wait until probably 2018, maybe put an advertisement out and say, we've got this capacity. Anybody out there want to pay us for it? Scenario, go out and get bids for it. What they're currently offering us is multitudes higher than what Xcel currently is offering us. We did have a second entity looking to acquire our capacity, and they have since, as stated here, withdrawn their interest at this time, I think because our offer is extremely, high value to us. They're not willing to pay that price. Staff is looking at extending this contract. I mean, we think it's in our best interest. And if we can make $1 and we can get $3 off the new contract, so much the better for us. And we'll worry about what happens in 2025 and probably 2024. We do have a couple of issues that we need to deal with yet. We're still working with our permit analyst who is reviewing the regulations, as noted here, to identify if the gas turbines would need to comply, if they're going to be included, in this action. So once we have those bits of information as far as regulation and what we need to do to comply, because it might be that the cost to come into compliance far exceeds the value of this extension of the contract. And so once we have those cleared up, we'll bring that back to the commission and alert you to what our recommendation is going to be, whether we move forward. But right now, we just don't have all the information that we feel. We'd love to say, yes, let's do it, but we have questions and we need to wade through those before we do it. But we did want to alert you that, part of the whole process of looking at our operation is ongoing. It's not something we do once a year. It's kind of all the time. In this particular situation, this gentleman from Public Power Energy Services, contacted us and thought that we might be benefiting from this particular action, but understand that he's doing it for a third party. He's doing it because it's also going to benefit somebody else. So he's out looking to fill this. We don't want to wait too long, to give an answer yes, because they may be looking at other sources of getting their needs fulfilled, in which case if we waited 6 months, the opportunity may be gone. So staff is working to try and get our answers from the permitting perspective, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. And quite honestly, that might even require that we call a special meeting. As soon as we get the information and it's positive for us, we may just say, this is something we can't wait an extra 3 weeks on, something we want to move on. And we'll alert you to that when it happens.
Is this something relevant for the Long-Term Power Committee to be aware of, or is that kind of outside there?
I think it was on the agenda, wasn't it? It was on the
Yes.
agenda, so Long-Term Power has reviewed it. And at this point in time, it's something we should definitely pursue and get all the information before we make a decision.
Did Xcel Energy approach us about renewing their contract at a higher rate as well?
Have they? And they at the same, they probably haven't given us a price, but maybe you wanna respond to that, Chris?
We did talk to Excel Energy. They too weren't necessarily interested in the price that we had received, so it is significantly higher than what we're getting from Excel currently, and so they would have to raise their price significantly, so
Okay.
they weren't interested.
And, excuse me, it's excess capacity that we don't think we would need
Right.
still, even at that
Yep.
time. Thank you. I'd offer the motion to receive and file a report regarding an offer received from Public Power Energy Services for purchase by a third party of excess capacity from our number 5 and our number 7 gas turbines.
Second?
We have a motion and second to receive and file a report regarding an offer received from Public Power Energy Services for purchase by a third party of excess capacity from our number 5 and 7 gas turbines. Any further discussion? All of those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is to discuss sales of gas utilities outside of the corporate boundary.
Mr. President and Commissioners, the current city code requires that we not sell services outside the corporate boundary of the city of New Ulm. And where that stems from basically is if you allow somebody to receive all the benefits of the utilities, there's really no reason for them to want to come into the city and pay higher taxes. So it's kind of like, well, you can benefit from gas and electric or water and sewer, but you have to come into the city. You have to be annexed in. So that's really the underlying issue on this particular item. Recognizing that, utilities have changed. It's become a world market on lots of different things. And that most cities out in Minnesota, there's 832 communities, and there's, 80 that have electricity and 40 that have gas, something of that nature. That more cities just have water and sewer. You don't have gas and electric, and we happen to have both of those. So we're unique in that respect as far as the city is concerned. So they don't worry about it. They get their gas and they get their electric from another source. It could be an REA, could be Excel Energy, could be private, could be whatever. And electricity is regulated as far as territory. We've got a specific electric territory. Now, we may not be serving to the boundaries of our territory, but that's our territory. If we were to annex that property into the city and an industry wanted to locate there, we have the right to serve them. Okay, so electricity has a territory. Gas does not have a territory. Gas is kind of like unregulated in that respect. It's a highly regulated utility, but the utility doesn't care where you go with it, or the state doesn't care, the feds don't care. They say, hey, your decision. You want to go to Lafayette, you want to go to Hanska with your gas utility, go ahead. There's nothing stopping you, okay? Having said that, nothing stopping you except cost. What's it cost to get it there, and are you going to get a return on your investment? And so the Long-Term Power Committee reviewed the question that was posed to them, and basically is recommending that the New Ulm Public Utility consider requesting that the New Ulm City Council amend the city code as found in section 2.50 subdivision 11 that restricts outside sales of utility services specific to gas only. We already have a territory for electric, don't have to worry about that. We're not asking, or the Long-Term Power Committee was not asking to extend water and sewer outside of the boundary, so not asking for that. But they are saying gas is a commodity that if you don't go out there, let's say, and start serving a particular area, if somebody else does come in there, they basically taken the market away from you. And that's not the same necessarily as water and sewer. To get into the sewer business, you have to have maybe $25 million to put up a wastewater treatment facility, and not too many people are gonna do that, okay? To get into the water business, rural water could, as you see in other parts of the country, South Dakota and Iowa particularly, they have rural water, and they set up a water system. They drill their wells, they put up water towers, so we could face something like that, but not likely right now. So the bottom line, the one that seems most likely to occur and probably the most important one if we were gonna go out and, like stake our territory and say, this is where we wanna be, would be gas. And so the Long-Term Power Committee is recommending that the PUC consider requesting the Newham City Council to amend the city code to allow for gas sales outside the corporate boundary of the city of Newham. So it was a discussion, there's probably reasons to not do water and sewer, and there's reasons to do gas. And so those were all hashed out, and this is a recommendation that comes before the PUC. And again, if it was something that the PUC could just make a decision and make it happen, they probably could. But the city code is regulated by the city council, so the council actually has to change that. And for the benefit of those people watching and a new member here, that process could take, if they were to amend the code, that process could take 3 to 4 months. Because you have to have the city attorney prepare the amendment, then you have to have the first reading on the city council, then you have to have a second reading, and then you could have, probably there's, you adopt it, and then 30 days after publication, it goes into effect. And so by the time you get through that whole process, you can be out there a ways. So it's not instantaneous either. So it takes a while. At the present time, there are situations where the PUC is performing services outside the city, and just so I think you're kind of aware of that process, is that according to the city code, the city can contract with another utility. Okay, like the city of Cortland, we can contract with another city. So we do with city of Cortland for wastewater. But we don't contract to the customers of Cortland. We contract with the city of Cortland, and that's allowed according to the ordinance. We also do gas services to the city of Winthrop. We don't serve Heartland, we don't serve Winthrop residents, we don't serve Gibbon residents, but we do contract with the city of Winthrop. So it's city to city, not city to customer. We also receive materials from other, let's say, private businesses, septic systems, businesses that clean out septic systems will bring their tanker in and dump off at our wastewater treatment plant. Now, they don't live in town, but it's a commercial entity, and aside from us, I don't know where else you could go to dump something like that. So that kind of makes sense. So we do have outside sales, and they are allowed according to the city code. So this would be something brand new and different that we've never really done before.
Mr. Gramitz, do you see if the city council would agree to change the code, the mechanics of this, I mean, it has to work for us financially. Would each and every request come before the PUC?
Correct. Once the city council would say amend the city code to allow it to happen, then it would fall back on the PUC to then allow it or not. Mm-hmm. And I think you would see the staff, they'd have to do their due diligence. Sure. And basically say, we can't run 50 miles to one customer and make it cost effective. Mm-hmm. But incrementally, if you start going out from where we currently are, there may be enough critical mass close by where it would make it feasible to do. And usually that's going to be a small community that might be surrounding the city of Newham, and we have a few that are. And so as the request comes in, that might be one of those things that the PUC would say, we've got an issue sheet, we've got the pluses and minuses, we've got the expenses and revenues, and then it's up to the PUC to decide whether or not we go out there or not.
Right. Go ahead.
Mr. Hippert, do you see any issues for the PUC that we say no to some group that comes before us. We said yes to somebody else, and now another group comes in, and
That's a legitimate question, Commissioner Baranek. I'd raised that at the Long-Term Power Committee meeting when this came up. I've done some research on that, and I can't find any authority that would entitle someone to be connected. I think this would remain discretionary with us. In addition, I think we would always be entitled to pass on the connection charges to any customer that we agreed to grant service to. So I don't think that we would be committing to something that we aren't otherwise prepared to agree to.
okay, thank you.
And if we deemed it necessary, would it be potential for us to have a separate rate structure for individuals that, or communities, however we go, that are outside of the annex of the city of New Ulm?
Yeah, I guess I would think that that's something that we would have to have more legal
I think
legal
we'd,
advice on.
and I think it might depend upon the situation. I think that there's provision in the statute that allows municipality to factor in the costs of constructing some of these improvements, but it would probably just depend on the scope of the project.
Okay. Well, I'll offer the motion to recommend to the city council a change to the city code, section 2.50, subsection 11, to allow for gas utility sales outside the corporate boundary of the city of New Ulm.
Second.
We have a motion and second to recommend to the city council a change to city code section 2.50 subdivision 11 to allow for gas utility sales outside the corporate boundary of the city of New Ulm. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda relates to information from the city attorney suggesting that we need to consider meeting in closed session.
We have to read that.
Yes.
Excuse me, Madam Chairman, do you want to, in the event that the commission decides to close the meeting to deal with the matters that I'd like to address, do you want to first take care of the list of claims and also confirm the meeting will be adjourned after the closed session?
Yes, there's only one other item on our agenda after this.
I would make a motion to that extent that the motion would be to proceed into a closed session after item 6A, and that closed session would be to discuss pending litigation regarding New Ulm, Fairfax, Heartland Corn Producers gas capacity contracts, metering discrepancy issues on the Hutch pipeline, and water main leak on Hazelwood Avenue according to the Minnesota statute 13D.05 subdivision 3B.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to proceed into closed session after we conclude the other agenda items. The purpose of the closed session will be to discuss pre-litigation strategy regarding New Ulm, Fairfax, Heartland Corn Producers gas capacity contracts, metering discrepancy issues on the Hutchinson pipeline, and water main break on Hazelwood Avenue. Pursuant to Minnesota statute 13D.05 subdivision 3B, which does authorize closed meetings for attorney-client privilege discussions. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So we will proceed with item 6A on the agenda.
I'll move to accept a list of claims in the amount of $1,760,930.74 and approve the list of claims to be paid in the amount of $495,232.54.
Second.
We have a motion and second to accept list of claims paid in the amount of $1,760,930.74 and to approve the list of claims to be paid in the amount of $495,232.54. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So we will adjourn the regular meeting at this point and go into closed session.
Maybe take
5-minute break.
5 minutes.